entity is controlled by someone else, and I have no way to control it. And I beg to differ. If you were to Google permission-based pixeling, you would see my article above Facebook ranking about pixeling. And so I like to talk to people about how they have the ability to shape the internet to change the world. And what I mean by that is Google is an open source network of information. And when you play the algorithm correctly, when you understand it, you become a contributing factor to helping define and shape the world. So just like if your audience was to Google permission-based pixeling, they would see my definition of what it is, and it wouldn't just be the first article. It would actually show them what my definition is. It's called a snippet. And so I'd love to talk about how when you get passionate enough about an idea and you don't buy into the internet smoke and mirrors, it's going to happen overnight idea. When you actually put in the work, you can help shape the internet and change the world and dive into an area of expertise that allows you to express your knowledge and your intellectual property in a way that helps change the world. We all have a valuable opinion. We all have valuable experiences. And when we put that out there, it helps signal to other people that someone's been there before, someone understands it, there are experts out there, all sorts of different things like that. So that's what I mean by shape the internet to change the world, or that people have the ability to shape the internet.
Yeah, really interesting. So if I had some intellectual property, I'm really smart about a certain thing, I've got opinions about a certain thing, what is my first couple of steps to get that out to the world to start to shape the internet?
Totally. I think first and foremost, trying to find the area where you're going to have an audience, and you have places like DuckDuckGo or search engines that are kind of trying to stray away from the data collection, data manipulation, etc. But most people are using Google. Most people are using Google. And so I would say that there are a couple different ways that you can start in that. One is leveraging someone else's platform. So if you wanted to start writing for a publication like Thrive Global, or a publication that like Thrive Global, I think is one of the best examples. They get millions of monthly site visitors, but pretty much anyone can contribute there. And so, you can start writing for a publication, but it's all going to be using a website of some sort that creates content. And so the first place you would start creating a website or finding a website where people are searching for the information that you have and demonstrating your expertise there, and creating articles that answer those questions that people might be asking. If you really are wholeheartedly bought into the idea that your intellectual property is worth something, and you want to pursue it for a long time, I'm under the understanding that too many people are trying to sprint and not running the marathon. So if you really want to start shaping the internet, think about your idea and create a website about it, and start there and start putting your information out on a blog of some sort. And then from there, you're going to play the SEO game. And we can talk more about that, but that would be the first place I would start, building a website.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think for a lot of people, entrepreneurs specifically, they might not understand that they can proactively get their shit out there. They don't have to respond and depend on other people. They can get their own shit out there. The example I'll give is this whole experiment, this 30, podcasts in 30 hours. I don't know if anybody's done that. Created a logo, created all the socials, created a website, did all that stuff. And I don't really have anything all that interesting or authoritative to talk about, but I proved that you can do it. So if somebody's got some opinion, some knowledge, there really isn't a barrier to entry to get that out to the world.
Totally.
And I think that that's probably underappreciated by a lot of people.
Definitely. I think one of the greatest gifts that anyone who lives in this age or our set of generations has been given is the democratization of media. We all have the ability to shape media of sorts. And it used to be that you had to be famous and you had to be accepted at a mass level to get your 15 minutes of fame. Right. And now with the internet, that 15 minutes of fame has been democratized. And instead of following one mainstream channel, when our, you might have even had some news channels growing up where literally everyone watched one channel or sat around and listened to one radio broadcast from the president or something like that. And now information, the amount of channels that you have to disseminate information is just, it's almost a bit overwhelming. But call it the democratization of our voices and the democratization of media. And it's very,
Is TikTok the best example of that right now?
I think TikTok is one of the best examples. I actually don't have a TikTok account, and I've never had a TikTok account.
You're aware TikTok exists.
Yeah. I made the choice 2 years ago when it was first coming out. I knew about it, and I had the opportunity to maybe start building that up. And I just decided that it wasn't for me. But I think that is really one of the best examples. Instagram before that, Facebook before that, Pinterest, tons of platforms. Snapchat is a little bit more anonymity, I guess, of sorts. There were still Snapchat influencers or whatever, but and more anonymity. Vines would have been an old one, the little 6-second videos. So
very, very interesting. So I've been on this thing recently talking about how I think it's important for us to eventually shift onto blockchain for information so that we can isolate one version of the truth and have it be the latest version of the truth. Because I think it's great to have all of this opinion and information coming at us, but how do we filter it to know that is the version of the truth that is the most recent and the most relevant? What are your thoughts on that?
You get into philosophical questions of what is truth, what is absolute truth. And that can send you down a really hardcore rabbit hole. Subjective truth is really the only truth that maybe exists in reality, in certain people's reality, but then you have to have collective truth and you have to have objective truth. Was that a touchdown or not? Was that a strike or not? And that's kind of, in that same measurement, we have to be able to tell what's the truth, what's factual, and in that being able to control that truth, as long as it is a multi-contributor. How do I say that? As long as there's checks and balances that keep that truth from being controlled by one particular source, I'm all for it. And I think that blockchain would really allow that. That's one of those things that you're speaking to, is the idea of the decentralization, right? Centralized truth through decentralized assets, which I think would be huge, right? It'd be awesome. How you do that, cool. I don't know.
I have the answer quite yet. So I'd love to switch over and talk about SEO a little bit more. I am naive in thinking that there are a lot of things that somebody can do in SEO on their own without bringing somebody in, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'd love to hear from you. What are some mistakes that people typically make on SEO, in particular, like entrepreneurs who are building their own shit? Like, what are some mistakes people make, and like, what can they do to be better at it?
A lot of people try and swing for the fences out the gate. They want to rank for the #1 keyword that's getting hundreds of thousands or whatever. And two things happen. They think that they can get that one first, and so they set the bar too high to begin with. And then when they don't make it, they get discouraged, which I think that happens in entrepreneurship in lots of ways anyways, just because we live in an age where everyone wants it quick. Sorry about that. They want it quick. They want it now. They want it to happen in a way that, you know, they want to make $5,000 a month in their first month of entrepreneurship or whatever. The same would go to in SEO. You want to rank for the keyword, you know, whatever keyword it is. And like I said, marathons and sprints, you're never going to sprint to SEO success, right? It's a marathon. So the #1 thing would be, you know, as a remedy for that mistake would be to target keywords that maybe aren't even getting that many views, or targeting keywords that out the gate that you can start actually seeing success. And this is something that I'm working on, is setting the bar low enough that I can walk over it on several occasions. So that way I can gain confidence and momentum and build the muscles, and then I can start jumping, and then I can start jumping higher, and then I can start jumping higher. So that would be the remedy for that mistake, but is, to believe that you can rank for a keyword. That would be the one mistake, is rank for a really high keyword really quickly. The other side of that would be, I don't have any control of how you rank. And that's not true either. You have full control of how you rank as well. So I'd say that's the both sides of that coin. And the remedy for that is consistency with timing, content, the niche, and just consistency all around. Having a centralized idea that you want to speak to, and then having lots of spokes kind of around that hub of ideas.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's very helpful. How long have you been entrepreneuring?
5 years, 4.5 years.
Okay.
I was a professional skier for a while, and so that is its own type of entrepreneurship, I guess. You're building a personal brand. I built my personal brand, my old Instagram, to 18,000 followers, and was selling myself to brands for partnerships and sponsorships and everything. So I would say from a very young age, I've been very entrepreneurial minded. You know, a lot of people want to talk about, I was an entrepreneur at age 6. I made my first lemonade stand. I did that. Wasn't profitable. Failed my first lemonade stand. But, you know, really, truly in it 4 years. I started my business 4 years ago. It was called Academy of Skiing. It was an online resource to learn how to ski. And it was somewhat successful. Ski Magazine came in, replicated a lot of my products, out-marketed me, and that sent me down into the media road. I launched a podcast, actually. And within 90 days, it was the top in sports in iTunes, which I got very lucky because I interviewed 2 guys that were in the Olympics in Sochi in Russia. And they both went gold and silver in half pipe. So really helped. And since then, I've been building the media house, which is now my business. And, we do anything from building websites, branding first off, building websites, and then creating and crafting marketing campaigns. 4 years now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. So I find it fascinating that you are a professional skier. I could probably ask you a million questions about that. The one that comes to mind is for a lot of the consumer brand companies that I work with, or that have products, and sometimes they want to approach influencers and get their products out to influencers. In your opinion, what does influencer marketing do for a brand? Does it really help move product? Just in general, what are your thoughts on influencer marketing?
I think there's a very, how do I put this? Internally, there's a feeling that I get when I know someone's doing it right, and there's a feeling that I get when I know someone's doing it what I would call wrong. And the difference between an influencer that's doing it right and that's doing it wrong is the influencer that's doing it wrong. The engagement level will be low, and they're not as concerned about their audience. All marketing is about building relationships. All of life is about building relationships, building a relationship with yourself, building a relationship with others, and building a relationship with the environment around you. And so in that, you have to look at the types of relationships that the influencer has with their audience and how engaged their audience is, and how truthful it would be for that influencer to recommend the product to the audience. And if all of that lines up, you're set up for gold. If all of that doesn't line up, if there's any piece of that doesn't line up, you're going to have a hole. And the way that I see marketing in general is it's kind of, you have a spout, and then you have like a bucket that you're trying to get the water in, and you're trying to like bridge the water all the way down there. And there's going to be little holes and gaps. You're going to have the traffic at the top, all the eyes, and then you're going to capture a certain amount of attention, capture more of it, lead them to a sales page, and then eventually get to the sale. And then there, the responsibility is fulfillment, and then continually building the relationship with the customer to earn goodwill, to then allow you to allow them to become a brand evangelist. And when they become a brand evangelist, you've won the game. And so influencer marketing works. Yes, there's no doubt about it. And you can't just go to some random person with 100,000 followers and say, please promote my product. You have to look at the types of relationships that they have with their audience. Bottom line, it's all about relationships.
Wow. Super helpful. Thank you. I love it. We're up on 20 minutes. I'd love to give you the floor, talk about lessons learned, tips, whatever else is on your mind. The floor is yours.
Thank you, man. First off, thank you so much for having me on. This went super quickly.
It did.
And, I think the biggest lessons learned or takeaways from my life in general is that relationships are the most important type of equity that you can build ever. And so life without relationships, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many material items you have, if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, if you don't have a good relationship with others, and if you don't have a good relationship with the environment around you, you're going to suffer. And I've learned that on several occasions through lots of different mistakes, burning bridges, becoming greedy, and not being someone of integrity. And again, the biggest thing that I would leave everyone, and this is one of my biggest lessons, I'll leave it with two. One is that containers create freedom. So when you can create containers to hold the things that you want in life and understand what fits in the box and what doesn't, that buys you so much freedom. And then the other one, what was I just going to say? A lot of the times, since we've become polarized in social media these days, so many people are concerned about being right instead of acting righteously. And I believe so many people are destroying good, beneficial relationships in the idea of trying to be right instead of acting righteously. So if you can act righteously and at the end of the day, believe that you were a good man, a good woman, that you played all out, then you should be able to sleep well, wake up the next day and go at it again. And if you can do that, you're winning. So the mantra that I've been telling myself, and I'm not perfect at this by any means, there's multiple times just this week where I tried to be right instead of acting righteously. And it's something that I learned on a continual basis. But if you can learn not to be right, but to act righteously, your relationships with everyone around you will be 20 times better. So that's what I leave everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm sure we'll chat soon. I appreciate it. Tons of value. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Good luck with everything. Get some sleep after this. Get some good food in you. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. And whenever you put this out on a platform, I'll share it for you, everything.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Yeah, thank you, sir.